Fresh is the word.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Fresh is the Word podcast. I'm your host, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier, and like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. The guest for this episode is Rick Giordano, member of the Synth-Driven horror metal trio from St. Louis, The Lion's Daughter. They have a new album out, Skin Show, via Season of Mist. The thing that really pops out to me about Skin Show is the visuals. From the album cover artwork to the cinematography of the music videos. It really makes them stand out, almost intriguing to someone who may have never heard them before. During our conversation, we talked about those visuals and how they complement the music, the making of Skin Show and how that differed from previous albums, how they got discovered, and 80s horror and action movies. And we have a lot of great suggestions for you. So after a brief word from our sponsor, let's get into this interview with Rick Giordano from the metal band, The Lion's Daughter. Before we start this podcast, I want to definitely remind you of a sponsor for Fresh is the Word, 20 by 20 Apparel. Founded in 2015, 20 by 20 Apparel brings original tributes to pro wrestling's classic arenas, moments, and events. They look to spotlight the bloopers, bleeps, and body slams along with the biggest, smallest, strangest, and strongest. In the world of wrestling where there's hundreds of shirts, promotions, flyers, social media accounts, and ads, don't get lost in the sea of parody shirts and display fonts. They can provide professional graphic design services at a reasonable price. 20 by 20 also hand screen prints all the tees in-house. So if you'd like to discuss a possible run of tees, posters, koozies, foam fingers, or even Zubaz, then drop them a line at 20by20apparel.com. That's the number 20x, the number 20apparel.com. And also check out their enamel pin line. It's super cool. All right, welcome back to the Fresh is the Word podcast. And like always, we have the freshest of guests for you. And the guest that we have in the building today is Rick Giordano. He's on guitars, vocals, synths, and bass in the St. Louis, Missouri-based metal band, The Lion's Daughter. And they have a new album. It's called Skin Show. It's out on Season of the Mist. It's amazing. How you doing today, Rick?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Yo, I'm cool, man. I'm cool. Just getting through things.
For sure.
When I first came about, The Lion's Daughter, it was like, the album cover looked cool, and I'm like, yo, these people are probably from like Norway or Sweden or whatever. Then I'm like, yo, St. Louis?
Yeah, man.
I was like, yo, that's cool.
Midwest scumbags.
Some St. Louis scumbags?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And it was what really grabbed me though, and what I instantly was like, yo, I gotta check these out, was the visuals, like especially on this new album. And then when there's a couple videos you have out these days for Curtains, and you have another one for Sex Trap. Mm-hmm. Like how important in the growth of this band is the visuals?
I think super important. I mean, I think a lot of it depends on what kind of person you are, but I'm somebody that in school I was told that I was a visual learner, and I found that to very much be true in life. So I have a hard time separating music from album art, or videos, or even something like, Curtains. I saw that one way in my head, and now that video's out there, that's the only way I'll ever be able to see that song. So, I think it's super, super important. You picture like Slayer, Rain and Blood without that artwork. It's to me, it's almost impossible. They have to coexist together. So, artwork is like crucial, I think.
What goes into the process of choosing the visuals for the artwork or the videos? Because the Sex Trap video was kind of a motion picture rendition of the album artwork. What goes into all that?
Right. I mean, it varies, and it's Interesting, because music is something that's easy for me personally to have control of, since like I'm the one writing it and involved in the whole recording process and mixing and all of that. And artwork's a little different because I don't do the artwork, so it's a matter of collaboration then. So really, it's just finding great people to work with and trusting them to do the thing that they do that you like. And we've gotten really lucky in that we've worked with, great artists all the way from our early stuff where we worked with a local artist named Kobe Ellison, to photographs that we've done with Josh Rowan, who's also done some video stuff for us. And, Paolo Girardi doing the cover painting for Existence is Horror, which was our first with Season of Mist. And then these last two records, we've used Mothmeister for the artwork, and their stuff is just incredible. So everybody I just named is amazing and turns out pretty much 100% great shit. So I know that, if I reach out to them to do something, that it's gonna be great and it's just gonna elevate the music.
How do you go about like sharing those ideas with those creators?
Again, it varies, because like somebody like Kobe back in the day, Kobe literally lived next door to me at one point in time. So, I just spent countless hours hanging out and drinking whiskey with that guy. And then Paolo, he lives in Italy, and his English is a million times better than my Italian is, but his English is not his first language, so communicating can be a little tricky, especially via email. But I saw how he worked, and he basically took a printout of my email with all of my ideas, and he clipped it to a oh god, what do you paint on, a palette?
A canvas.
My god. Yeah, see, that's how much I know about art. But he clipped it there, and then he just churned out this painting that was like exactly what I had in my head somehow, just from my notes. So it just varies, and sometimes an artist will turn around and give you something that you didn't really expect, but sometimes it's better than what you expected. And then sometimes, like Paolo, he'll just nail exactly the specific thing that you were talking about somehow. So
what was the idea about the album cover for the Skin Show, which was also like the video for Sex Trap?
Well, I had talked to, so Mothmeister also did the artwork for Future Cult, which was the previous album. And that was an image that already existed, that they had done, that I had seen that image actually before even writing the album. I saw that image, and I kind of let that image be kind of the catalyst for writing the record, or the inspiration in a way. And then they let us license that. This time around, we collaborated with them. They did, custom artwork for this. So really the idea just kind of started with, let's do something different than we did last time, where the last time, the character was outdoors. Let's do something that feels a little more confined and claustrophobic. The last thing was really colorful. Let's kind of strip away a lot of the color and make one image where everything's white and another image where everything's black. And then kind of talking about who these characters could be and how they coexist. Are they the same person? How they relate to the album, how they relate to album titles. Like, a lot goes into it. But yeah, I forgot the initial question already. I'm not awake yet, man. At 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I'm drinking coffee and trying to wake up.
I feel you, man.
My apologies.
I'm still waking up right now.
Okay.
But like when it comes to on the Skin Show, the album cover, it's very dominated by white, and that's something totally different from 99% of like metal albums, heavy albums.
Sure.
It's all really dark. What does sort of that how does that whiteness sort of what does that mean for the music and everything? What does that represent?
I don't know what it represents necessarily. I definitely thought that having it be all white would kind of make it stand out against, maybe some of our colleagues' albums. And I don't know. I liked the idea of having this white jacket on the outside, and then the inside is all black, and having like a similar character to where it's kind of like, I don't know, the concept I guess could be kind of the thing that you want to present to the world, and then the thing that's really under the surface or in the inside, which is this complete opposite thing. I don't know, I thought about a lot of records that I like have white album covers, strangely, and there's like something makes the production then feel a lot cleaner, and it just I don't know, it creates like a kind of a unique vibe, and it's not something that we had done before. So it's like, all right, well, let's see what this this feels like if we try this out, which I'm sure means for whatever we do next will be the total opposite of that. But yeah, I don't know, it just seemed like a cool idea.
And I feel like the album artwork for Skin Show was very was like a nice introduction about what I'm gonna hear, because as soon as you get into the album, you hear this like really thick synth, and you hear that throughout. I knew I was gonna hear something that wasn't just guitars and drums. I knew I was gonna feel some other sort of, there's gonna be other elements, even just based off that album cover.
Yeah, you know what? It works in my brain because the last Rammstein record that was just the self-titled is just a white album cover with just like a match on it.
Yeah,
it's a really cool cover.
Yeah.
And then that first track on the record to me is straight up like Rammstein. It probably isn't once you get into it, and maybe I'm the only one that would hear that. But that opening to me, I wrote that like in my head. I was like, what would, like, if Rammstein were playing like an arena, how would they open a record, or how would they open their set? And that's how that record opens. And it's actually, I should probably not admit it, because I think it's actually kind of similar to the way that the new Rammstein record opens. I think there's a synth that does something probably not that different, and then there's like big crashing chords over the top of it, this big epic like beginning. So ripped off Rammstein.
Man,
that's the answer.
Right.
That's the answer.
So, Lion's Daughter's been, putting out records for like a decade now. What really sticks out into those early years when you guys were just kind of putting this band together, trying to get your footing into music? Where were you guys at? Why did this band kind of get together?
So the drummer and I were in another band for like, he was in it longer than I was, but I was in it for about 3 years, and we just toured like 3 years straight. And neither of us liked the band really. It was more of a job and a business than it was a band. And it was a thing. It wasn't our project. We were just in somebody else's band, and our hearts weren't really in it. We got burnt out, man. I mean, we toured like nonstop, and we were at the airport flying out of Germany back to the States after like a month over there. And we saw there was a really goofy looking romance novel at the airport called The Lion's Daughter, with some like bare chested stud on it. And of course, you grab it and you and your friends start reading it to each other and laughing.
Right.
And just
a lot of things are throbbing, and
sure. We decided then, we were like we said kind of as a joke, like, let's start a new band and let's call it The Lion's Daughter and we'll make it a disco band. We're like, yeah. And then that idea kind of stuck around weirdly, and we both quit that band and we're like, okay, let's actually start a new band and just call it The Lion's Daughter, because that name is so stupid. Like, to us, not everybody's not going to know that it's a romance novel, but we do. And that's so ridiculous. This kind of gives us the freedom to do whatever we want, and we're not going to be concerned about if people like it or not. It's not going to be a business. It's going to be like a passion project. And the original stuff we did was just like Neurosis worship, and I don't think we actually played out or recorded anything for like 3 years. We, just kind of, we didn't even want to. We just basically, it was an excuse to get together and drink whiskey and smoke a lot of weed and just kind of play music. So it's funny.
A lot of bands start,
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good time. If you haven't done those three things together, it's pretty fun. But yeah, it's funny that more than a decade later, we kind of accidentally turned into a disco band finally, or like have those elements now, like we originally set out to do. But yeah, it just started it kind of started out of like hatred and spite for just like the band that we had been in and just other bands at that time. Like 2007, you gotta think like that. The metalcore and emo shit was still like huge. It might still be huge now. I don't know. It's not really on my radar anymore.
Right.
But it was kind of just a response to all the shit that we hated. We just wanted to play like the ugliest, gnarliest shit that we could, you know?
Yeah, that time period is weird for a lot of music. It was like it was after a heyday of one thing, like all genres. I feel like so it was a weird transitional period where everybody was
Yeah.
just kind of like, I don't know what to do, or they're going super hard trying to like make it on the mainstream. You know?
Yeah, it seemed like in the early 2000s, all like I had a bunch of friends that were in bad new metal bands, which was never my thing. Like I grew up in like punk rock and stuff, and
Yeah.
as soon as I, no disrespect to anybody that likes that stuff, but as soon as I heard like Korn and stuff like that, like I knew that that was not for me.
Right.
And then all of the bands that wanted to sound like Korn and Limp Bizkit and stuff were just fucking everywhere. And then something shifted where everybody had swoopy bangs and was in emo bands.
Yeah.
And I was embarrassed for a lot of my friends that were in those bands. But something happened around like 2010 where a bunch of people I knew started like good bands. And it's kind of stayed that way. Like St. Louis actually has some really good local bands now and has for a while. So
yeah, like around like that new decade, like there was like the seeds of what you'd start to see later on in the 2010s, like of
Yeah.
like really good like metal bands were kind of starting around that time. Like, and you just kind of mentioned it, like what's the St. Louis scene been, whether during the time you guys were first starting out until what's happening now before the pandemic, and everything.
Yeah. It's hard to say because we've never really been a part of any scene too much. Um, it seems solid. I mean, we often we play with the same bands pretty often because usually if we rarely play like anyone else's shows or anything. We every once in a while open for someone that's coming through town that either we know or we got or somebody that we're just big fans of or whatever. But for the most part, we book our own stuff locally. So I always go to Fister, who started at the same time that we did, who were like straight up like real nasty doom stuff.
Yeah.
And like Hell Knight, who are just super aggressive, fun. They'd probably hate if I called them fun, but they're fun as fuck. Just super gnarly, spazzy, like intense rock, metal, punk, I don't know what. Or like the Gorge, who are like crazy, like prog rock, prog metal, fucking. But I always just kind of go to the same bands that we've played with for years because I fucking love those bands. And there are probably newer bands popping up, but I don't know. I don't really know much about them, so I don't know what's going on really. And like I know there's a scene out there of like basement shows and all that shit. And I think that's where like the new shit usually happens. Like new bands and like exciting new bands that are like trying new things. It's usually some basement show shit, but like I'm 41 years old, man. I don't want to go fucking hang out in the basement with some dude throwing beer on me and all that shit anymore. So I'm kind of clueless. So I really don't know. So I think the scene here is good, and I think it's constantly evolving. I'm just slightly closed off to it, I think, and I just kind of know the bands that I like, but it's not. It's fucking weird though, man. It might be like this everywhere, but you could have like a solid show and really good bands, right venue, right night of the week, nothing else going on, and like 70 people show up. Then you have like some bands, it's a record release and 400 people show up. So it's really weird. It's almost like you have to trick people into coming out by making them think it's a special event, or like people don't really come out to see the bands. They just come to see their friends.
Oh yeah.
Or something. I'm not
yeah.
sure.
Yeah. It's like that in Detroit too, man. It's like to the point where I was thinking about it during this pandemic. I'm like, because my roots are like in the hip hop scene here in Detroit, but I go to everything, and I'm like, I'm like really tired and bored of going to like the shows where like the musical like performance or the DJ is kind of like the background and everybody's just there to like socialize and everything. Like
Yeah.
I like just going to go see like the the band and everything. Because it's
Yeah,
like
man.
just because there's some people I just do not want to like run into. I don't want they come talking to me. I don't want to talk to them. There's people I just don't like that go out to everything, and I'm like, can I just go out there and watch the band or listen to the DJ? You know?
Right. There's one show of ours where and it was a record release, so a bunch of people were there, but somebody took a video from back by like the soundboard, and there are a couple little spots in songs where like it would quiet down to where you could hear all these chicks just fucking gabbing like over the band and stuff, and it sounded like a big fucking group of people. And I actually remember that show because I remember I like yelled at them at one point in time, and I was like, hey, I was like, go the fuck outside if you want to do this. But that drives me fucking crazy. And it's not like I'm saying like, hey, girls shouldn't come to our shows or people shouldn't have a good time or whatever. But like, if you're not here for the band, okay, come in, hang out at the bar between bands, and then go the fuck outside. Like, shut up so people can actually watch and enjoy this. Like people that paid money, like I assume that those people that just want to chat did too. But like, yeah, shut the fuck up so people could watch. We saw Scott Kelly from Neurosis did an acoustic solo show in St. Louis. Like this was a few years ago, but there were like 4 people that wouldn't shut the fuck up like while he was playing, and finally other people turned around him and like they were gonna get the shit beat out of him, but other people turned around and was like, hey, can you please like shut the fuck up? All of us really want to see. And then security quickly just like kicked them out. It was like, okay, cool, we can like relax and watch the fucking we could watch the show and listen to the music that we came here to see. But yeah, we've played Detroit once, and it was a terrible experience, man.
Where did you play?
Detroit was not. I think it was called the Painted Lady.
Oh, that's a
Does that
small
ring a
little
bell?
Hamtramck spot. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, this was over 5 years ago,
Yeah.
probably. But I mean, all right, I'll not say anything bad. I won't say anything bad. I've learned to keep my mouth shut about certain things, but I'll just say we did not have a good experience, and we were not treated very well by the staff at that place. But it was like over 5 years ago. Maybe it's a different staff, maybe it's different owners. I don't know. So I'll be a nice guy and not talk shit. But it wasn't cool.
See, in Detroit, especially like in Hamtramck, sometimes like people who put on shows will literally just have to deal with what place they can get booked, and a
Yeah.
band like yours would not necessarily play the Painted Lady. Let's just say.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be like
It seemed odd.
yeah, like
Yeah, I
you
don't
might
know
see
where
more
I
like
don't know
indie
other
rock
venues
bands and
in
stuff like
Detroit.
that, like play that, but a heavy band,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah, it seemed like I remember like rockabilly dudes being
Yeah, it's
there.
stuff like that. Yeah, yeah,
Like it had that vibe. Yeah. Yeah. But we did there's a guy named Mike in Detroit who's in that band Acid Witch, and he's in Temple of Void.
yeah.
And I think he's probably in 6 other bands too. But luckily like we stayed with him, and like we had a blast before and after the show, like hanging out with our friends that are in Detroit. But the show itself, man, like yeah, we had a lot of issues at that place, and then they tried to fucking rip us off.
Yeah.
So it definitely we might be back through one day, but it left us in no hurry to come back, unfortunately. But the people we met were great.
Oh yeah.
The friends we made in Detroit were really cool, but just that the experience of that venue was not good.
How when it comes to this band getting attention, how do you feel like you were able to gain a fan base, get enough tension where you link up with Season of Mist? Did it have to do it with anything that you've connects you picked up with your previous band? How did that kind of go?
No, so we intentionally have almost never mentioned our previous band, and we I'm embarrassed and ashamed of that band. I think it was fucking trash. Um, and this is so different that we really just didn't want the two connected. And neither of us were like the business guy in that band either. So I had zero contacts, from that. And the few people I did know were fucking shitheads. So I didn't stay in touch with them anyway. Uh, um, the Season of Mist thing was more like, I don't know that necessarily like, I don't think it was a case so much of our like fan base growing to the point where they noticed or anything. I think it was that, to my understanding, the way that we came on their radar was from other bands telling them like, hey, there's this band in St. Louis called The Lion's Daughter. You guys should like listen to this. Mainly like we played some shows with Pig Destroyer, and I know those guys went back and told Season of Mist. We played with Misery Index. Those guys went back and told Season of Mist. There's a videographer guy named Jeff Grindstoffer that works with them on some of their sick drummer stuff, and he told them you need to listen to this band Lion's Daughter. So I think they just had enough people that they respected and listened to coming at them from enough directions that they checked out our stuff, and then eventually reached out, which was real fucking cool because a lot of my favorite bands are on that record label. So
what is it about the band,
yeah,
the sound?
so yeah.
What is it about the band, the sound of the band, even like your personalities that is like, yo, all these other bands that are your peers, they really fuck with you, man. They don't have to do that. They didn't have to tell anybody that, yo,
Right.
you guys are really dope. What is it about you guys that you feel like, these people wanted to help you?
I think one. I think people don't put enough importance on this. One, we're on time, we're professional, and we're pretty polite for the most part.
Yeah, be polite and
I
on
think
time.
that makes a big difference.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, if your band fucking rips, you guys are amazing, but you're late. You don't get your shit on or off stage fast enough. You're yelling at the sound guy. You're doing whatever, and then you like drank all the beer in the fucking dressing room. You did whatever. Like fuck your band. Like
Yeah.
not only am I not going to tell anybody, I'm not going to listen to you anymore. But yeah, if you're like cool as shit, it makes a big difference. So I think it's just that we kind of I think that's a part of it, and then hopefully like I don't know, our music and our live performance was goodish to where it left an impact, and I think it helps that we've always, since our band for better or worse has always been slightly difficult to pinpoint or put in like a certain box. I think we're kind of a band that other bands enjoy more for that reason, because it is usually a little different.
Yeah.
So I think that's why we've been able to win over some of those people. It's my guess, but
throughout the longevity of this band, what are some things that you feel like you guys have are doing better on this new album?
The songwriting for sure. This is the first time I think we've really concentrated on writing good songs. As weird as that sounds for a band that's put out 4 records, some splits, some EPs, a collaborative LP. It's weird that like this is the first time we've really thought about the songwriting. I think before it was always just like, oh, what's the sound? Like, what do we want the sound to be? Like, okay, this sounds cool. Well, here's this riff, this part. And then Future Cult, it's like, oh shit, let's throw synths in. Like, what can we do with that? And like, look at this, and it's flashy and stuff. And now it's like, okay, we figured out what the sound is. We figured out we like having like the synthesizers in there and this whole thing. Like, let's see if we could write some songs now with this. So, I think the songwriting is a lot more concise. It's definitely more traditional song structure. And in a way, and that's why I think I've called it like our fucking weirdo version of a pop record, just because there are actually like choruses and things. For the first time ever, we have like choruses and things that are hopefully like a little bit catchy or memorable, things you could like tap your foot to. So I think that's the biggest difference. And the thing that's cool is I actually really like the idea of writing. Is what and then and something that maybe is a little bit of an earworm and sticks in your head afterwards. Like that shit's really fun to write because I've never done that before. And I'm really proud of the record because I think we did that while maintaining the integrity of the band and the sound that we've kind of established already, and then wrote 10 fucking real deal songs. So yeah.
Going back, like, what kind of a kid were you? When did you kind of get into music? What were you listening to? What kind of got you into all of this?
Man, fuck, Michael Jackson's Beat It. That's the answer for everything. I heard that as a kid. That was like that was the first music I remember ever, like that I remember paying attention to. When Beat It came out, lost my fucking mind over that, to where, and this is obviously like pre-internet, and but I remember like it was known throughout my family, throughout the neighborhood, everywhere, that like if Beat It is on TV or on the radio, you call my house and you let my mom know that Beat It's on so she could put it on, because I'm gonna lose my fucking mind, because it was like my favorite thing. And funny enough, she couldn't find the record for me. I don't know if it was sold out everywhere or what, but she came home one day with Weird Al Eat It instead of Beat It.
Yeah.
And that's maybe part of why I'm like a lifelong Weird Al fan too. But I was like, this is totally acceptable, because what I liked about Beat It, I know now, it wasn't that I liked Michael Jackson. I liked fucking Eddie Van Halen. I liked that guitar riff and the guitar solo. Yeah. So, cause other Michael Jackson, Billie Jean and stuff, I was like, oh, this is like fine, but no, it's fucking Beat It. Cause that was a rock song, if not a hard rock song, if not teetering into like being a fucking metal song pretty much.
Yeah.
But then I heard, my sister bought Motley Crue's Shout at the Devil, and that was like, oh fuck, this is everything I like about Beat It, but then some. And then right after that, one of her boyfriends brought over one afternoon a stack of records for me to check out, and in that stack was, dude, Venom and Overkill and like Megadeth and Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, like everything, dude. And we sat all day and we listened to every record while I taped them all on cassette. And then that was just like, that was religion to me, like instantly was all that stuff. So so music grabbed me like as far back as I can remember, man. Like really just, like guitar driven music was just like my shit. As soon as something about that sound just no pun intended, struck a chord. It fucking it works for me. So, and here we are however many years later, and same shit. I'm listening to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and the same records I heard that day.
What made you want to get into like making music?
It just seemed like the natural thing to do. I mean, as a kid, my bedroom was just covered with fucking pictures and posters of dudes like playing guitars and singing and shit, and it was just like, that seemed like the natural next step to take. It was like, all right, well, I want to like learn how to do this. And seeing like my neighbor got a guitar, and I remember him sitting and playing Jump in the Fire, and I was just blown away that he could pick up a guitar and then make that sound come out by moving his fingers around. I was like, well, I want to figure out how to do that. That seems like super, super fun. So, it seemed like a natural thing to do. My dad and I started actually playing guitar together at the same time. Nice. He borrowed a guitar from like my uncle or something, and we were both like learning how to play on it. And then I got annoyed by chords, so I started playing bass instead. I got like a bass for Christmas, like from Sears, like the cheapest bass, because it was just easier to wrap my brain around 4 strings. But then went back to guitar as a teenager once I got into like punk rock stuff, and I figured out like, oh, if you just learn power chords, you can play like every punk rock song pretty much. Like, okay, this is a lot easier. I can, and I still don't know chords, so I dodged the bullet of ever having to learn real guitar chords.
Right. When you're not doing music stuff, what do you do for fun? How do you decompress? What's that? What kind of stuff do you do?
A big movie fan, which it's probably obvious there are like horror elements and stuff in in our music, but
And in your background.
yeah, I'm a big movie fan, so. Oh yeah. Those are posters from Ghana that somebody painted there, and I happened to run into a guy that was selling them off a truck. So fuck yeah, I bought some.
Hell yeah.
But I watched a lot of horror movies. I started a like a dumb podcast with a friend where basically we get drunk and talk about action movies, and that's super fun. Still skateboard sometimes. I like to, I don't know, throw weights around. I like to I play with my dog, fucking go to the park. I don't know. I don't know what I do. I'd probably drink too much. Fun. I forgot about fun. I'm not sure. I drink a lot of coffee.
Yeah.
I don't remember. What the fuck do I do? I don't know. That question threw me off because I'm like, I don't think about.
It's a weird question during this pandemic because you're like, what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm like, yeah, and any of those things I didn't, normally I would mention like going to shows, going to hang out with friends, going out to eat good food, like shit like that people do for fun. But I've kind of, forgotten about those things. Hopefully they're coming back real soon, but
What are some of your favorite like action movies and horror movies you like? Whether they're dumb ones or serious ones.
Action movies are funny because I've kind of figured out through doing this podcast with my friend. I think we just recorded our 16th episode, and he's the action movie guy, really. And for the most part, we would just be hanging out and drinking and watching like goofy action movies so often. He was like, "Let's make this a podcast." I'm like, "That's a terrible idea, but sure, let's do it." But what I've come to learn is like, I like the 80s stuff. That's the shit that I like. I like the Sylvester Stallone, Schwarzenegger, all that shit. Because like I watched a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie for the first time for the podcast. I watched Hard Target, and fuck, I hated it. I hated it so much. To where I don't think I'll ever watch another Van Damme movie. I don't like the Steven Seagal shit. I just think I like the 80s stuff, man. Because it was all just ridiculous. Everybody was all muscly and sweaty, and everything was exploding, and all the girls had giant hair, and the soundtrack was ridiculous, and that shit was just super fun. But horror movies I take a little more seriously. But I think my favorites are like The Thing is probably number one.
Yeah.
American Werewolf in London, Reanimator. I love like Eraserhead. God, what else? I'm just trying to look around at posters I have. Shockwaves. I love Shockwaves and like a lot of the I love a lot of the Italian horror and Argento and Fulci. Day of the Dead is probably my favorite of the Romero movies. But I also love like, I don't know, like Weird Science. It's one of my favorite movies. Probably not horror exactly. Sci-fi, maybe. I don't know. But yeah.
When it comes to action movies, did you ever see any of like the Andy Sedaris movies from back in the day?
Absolutely. We watched Hard Ticket to Hawaii for the podcast and couldn't release it because when it was done, we realized like all we did was talk about tits for an hour and a half.
Dude.
That was all we fucking talked
I got like
about.
box
But that's
sets
the point of those
man.
movies. What's that?
I got like 3 box sets of those movies, man.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, and they used to be on the movie channel and like Cinemax so much back in the day.
Yeah, I just saw that somebody's putting out a vinyl for Hard Ticket to Hawaii that's the frisbee from the movie. So it's a clear vinyl, and somehow on the inside it's got razor blades on the inside. So it's supposed to look like the frisbee that the guy tosses the other dude and chops his fingers off or whatever. I'm like, somebody went through so much trouble to make that for a Hard Ticket to Hawaii soundtrack, and I love that they did that.
Oh, I gotta look for that, man. That sounds amazing.
It looks really cool. It looks really cool. But it's just amazing that like I don't remember the soundtrack of that movie.
Me neither.
Yeah. So I don't know that I want to throw it on, but like that is a pretty cool collectible. I'm sure it's expensive, but Yeah, Andy Sedaris stuff is great, man. Savage Beach,
Yeah, Savage Beat. Those
Malibu
movies.
Express, that's one of his.
Which one?
Malibu Express, I think
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
one of his
Malibu.
as well.
That was like one of the first
Yeah.
ones. That yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Those movies are so funny because it's like, oh shit, you know, our colleague just got kidnapped by this villain, but I could really use a shower right now. Want to join
Oh,
me?
totally. Yeah. Oh, I love in Hard Ticket to Hawaii. The two girls find some diamonds. So they decide to like inspect the diamonds. They decide to get topless and get into a hot tub and then look at the diamonds. Like you're gonna drop the diamonds in the water. That's the worst place to look at diamonds. What the fuck? But hey, I'm watching, so okay, that's fine.
Man, I love those movies. I love those movies.
Yeah, that shit's good. That's what I mean by like 80s stuff, man. All that
Right.
shit's super fun. I love Samurai Cop is another one I love if you've ever seen that one. That's what's the director's name is Amir or something, but he did Samurai Cop and Killing American Style and Hollywood Cop, and they're definitely like so bad that they're amazing. Like kind of movies. Like Samurai Cop, I wouldn't even know how to explain or where to start, but there's definitely shit where like the main actor has like flowing long hair,
Yeah.
and I guess they brought him back for reshoots and he had cut his hair short, so they put a wig on him for the reshoots. So it keeps cutting to this dude in a terrible wig every once in a while. There's even a fight scene where the wig falls off and he catches it real quick, and they didn't cut that part out. Like it's
Yeah.
still in the movie. The dude's wig falling off is still in the movie. Like it's incomprehensibly stupid and fucking amazing.
You ever see
Samurai
this,
Cop. I highly recommend that.
you ever see this movie called Tough Turf?
Is that James Spader?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No, maybe I haven't. Is it? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Yeah,
early
he's
James
like-
Spader has it's an early role for Robert Downey Jr. He has like a supporting role.
Okay.
Like
I know of it, but I don't think I've ever seen it.
only place it's like available these days is on YouTube. Like the full movie's on YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Like you got to watch that,
Yeah.
man. And like the soundtrack is dope because there's all these music performances in the movie, and they're on the
Okay.
soundtrack, but there's actual music performances. But then like it goes into all
Yeah.
these wild places. But like you have to check that out. It's such a good '80s movie, but it's like
Okay.
it's enjoyable too.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll add it to the list. It's on YouTube.
Oh yeah, it's on. Yeah, it's like the only place you can get it is like on YouTube. Like someone posted it a long time ago in full.
Okay. I got you. I might be able to from like Cinemageddon or one of those other sites, I might be able to find like a better quality, because sometimes the shit on YouTube, like it's a really bad rip.
But actually,
super
the tough
pixelated and
the
stuff.
Tough Turf one is actually pretty good, like quality wise.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually
Okay.
really good.
Cool.
Like
Yeah, I'll check it
whoever
out.
ripped it and uploaded it did a good job.
Yeah. Well, thanks to them.
Yep. All right, as we wind down everything, so when it comes to this album, like what do you hope the listeners get out of it?
I mean, is it going to sound rude if I say I don't care? Because I don't. I don't really care what anybody gets out of it. It's not. I don't know. I don't go into it. I sound like a huge dick saying that, but like I don't know. I don't approach these things or think about them as being for other people at all, which might be strange. But I just try to write stuff that is satisfying to me and that the other guys in the band like enough to perform on, and and then go out and play in front of people for years. So I don't know. It's not something I consider. It's cool if people like it like that. Like that's great. If it makes them think a little bit, or if it opens their mind to certain kinds of music or musical ideas, especially if it's somebody that's, just into like, black metal, doom, like whatever, and might be like might be slightly closed-minded in that and that genre, to kind of toss some different ideas at them and have them walk away thinking like, oh, you know what, like I don't know, I should go throw on like an ABBA record or something after this, like then that's cool. But yeah, for the most part, I don't I don't know. It's on, it's on the individual to figure out what they want to walk away from it with. And if somebody hears 2 seconds of it and doesn't like it, that's fine too.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
kinda
attitude
like,
I think I have to have, or else I can't write music any other way.
right. There's kind of like a no strings attached approach from your end and from the whole party, of like, yo, this is something that we did. We really enjoyed it. We really put our heart into it. There it is, man. The world has it now. Like it, don't like it.
Totally.
But if you like it, cool. I'm glad you're on board.
Yeah, that's kind of always been our approach, because that old band that the two of us were in, that was very much a band where everything was written to be liked. It was to be liked by a specific group of people, and it worked, but you couldn't really take any pride in that. And God, if it didn't work, you just wasted like years of your life. So our kind of attitude with this band has always just been like let's just do whatever we want, and if other people like it, that's on other people. So yeah, once the record's done, I don't really think about how it's going to be received, or how what people are going to take away from it. But it's cool when it's good. I'm not like saying I'm so cool that if every review came back and every comment was like fuck this band, this is trash, that it wouldn't like bum me out. And it does feel good when reviews are good and people are like, hey, I like the record and stuff. It's awesome, and it means a lot, because I didn't write it for other people. I wrote it to be a thing that I like, so it has more value to me when people react positively. But yeah, I don't know. Again, I probably sounded like a dick there for a second, but I don't know. I have to not care what people think of it, or what people get out of it.
Right. That's just that's just how you are. As long as you're not being a dick to people and being an asshole to people specifically, or being problematic, that's cool.
Yeah. Just the people that deserve it.
Yeah, just people that deserve it. So, you got any final thoughts about Skin Show? Before we get out of here.
I don't know. Not really. I don't think so. My final thoughts were with the moment we left the studio. I stopped thinking about it.
How did that feel?
It felt good. We had a blast in the studio, which is kind of funny. Like if you listen to a record like this, that's like kind of like a darker record or whatever. It's kind of funny to think that it was like 4 dudes laughing their asses off and having a great time making the thing. But that was the case. Sanford Parker, came down from Chicago to produce it, and this is the 3rd time that we've worked with him. So by now, it's like it's like seeing an old friend.
Yeah.
So we had a fucking great time, and we definitely left with like, okay, I think we have something special here. Like we had that feeling when we left. Like I think we just made a good record, which we didn't have that like the first time we it was the first time that Sanford came down and we did Existence is Horror, which was the first for Season of Mist. When we finished that record, I remember us all like talking to each other like, man, we just wasted everybody's time and everybody's money. Like we felt like we did not make a good record. And looking back at what, I don't know, that was just us like really second guessing ourselves, I guess.
Right.
But, yeah, finishing Skin Show and like leaving the studio, it was like, cool, man. I think we did something like really interesting and made a really solid record. So it felt good. So you just got to finish the record, and then you wait like forever for it to actually come out, because that's the way the process works. But yeah. So just anybody that has checked it out, whether you like it or not, I appreciate you taking the time to listen to our band and check out the record.
Great, man. I like the record. It's cool. So I'm on board.
Cool. I appreciate that. All right.
All
You're
right.
okay then.
All right. It's been great talking with you, Rick. Where can people go online to get more information about Lion's Daughter, Skin Show, or even your podcasts?
The easiest place would be, I think it's what the hell's the address for our Bandcamp? I don't know, the Lion's Daughter Bandcamp. I think it's just probably the lionsdaughter.bandcamp.com.
Something like that.
Is
just type the Lion's
like
Daughter. It comes up instantly,
Yeah. That's probably the best place, because you can, you can either, get a download of the record, or you could buy a vinyl or a shirt or whatever. And that helps our, if you buy something, it's great because it helps our label not drop us, which they've been really, really cool and really supportive. So I like the idea of them making back a little bit of their investment on this band, because as you and everyone else knows, record labels have a real hard time making any money back these days when everybody just listens to Spotify or wherever they stream stuff. It really, really helps the bands and the labels who are the ones that back the bands. It helps them recoup and survive and so always encourage that. And the vinyl package for Skin Show is fucking gorgeous. It looks really, really good. It's slick as hell. And the record sounds great. So really happy with the way it came out. But,
I got a vinyl
Bandcamp's
on the
probably
way. So
the best place.
Boom.
Nice. Hell yeah. And then the podcast that me and my buddy have is it's almost something that's best kept completely separate from the band, because it's like so Jekyll and Hyde with my personality, where the band's like this dark brooding thing, and then this other side of me is like me like drunk, where my voice is like 3 octave higher, like giggling about boobies and guns and kickboxing and shit. But that's called Your French Fries Are Drowning, which is a reference from Cobra. Stallone tells a woman who's putting too much ketchup on her French fries that she needs a life preserver because her French fries are drowning. And that's where our sense of humor pretty much is. But yeah, man. And we have a Facebook and an Instagram and all that stuff. We have all the shit that every band has. Bandcamp, Facebook, Instagram, Big Cartel.
It's easy to find. Just Google Lion's Daughter. It
is.
comes up. There's
yeah. That's, you could edit out everything I just said and just Google it. That's easier. And just don't click on the thing that looks like a romance novel, because that's not it. That's the wrong thing. 'Cause that will come up too, probably.
They're like, Rick, is that you?
Yeah, I actually, right. I actually wonder if that author, her name's Loretta Chase. I wonder if she's heard by now that a band stole the title of one of her novels or not. I really want. There's got to be some point where she searched and just saw, like, what the fuck? This is a band now? Like, I don't know. I'm waiting for the cease and desist letter. I'm kind of disappointed I haven't gotten it yet, because that would give us an excuse to change the band name. But
well, Rick, it's been good talking with you. Thanks for coming on. Great record.
Likewise.
Go support Lion's Daughter. Skin Show out now. Season the Mist. Yo, good album.
Thank you for listening to the Fresh is the Word podcast, hosted and produced by myself, Kelly K. Fresh Frazier. Empowered by Anchor at anchor.fm/Fresh of the Word. Fresh of the Word theme music provided by Steve O. You can find more of his productions at iamsteveo.bandcamp.com, and that's EYEAMSTEVEO.bandcamp.com. Fresh of the Word is available on all major streaming platforms. Please rate and review on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher. If you want to support Fresh of the Word, please consider pledging via Patreon at patreon.com/Fresh of the Word. Follow Fresh of the Word on social media on Twitter at Fresh of the Pod, on Instagram at Fresh of the Word Podcast, and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/Fresh of the Word. For more information about Fresh of the Word and our other podcasts, Breaking Records and Renaissance Soul, and a collection of pop culture articles and reviews, please visit freshofthepodcast.com. Thank you for listening and your support. Goodbye and good night.
Fresh is the word.